The fluorescent lights of Denver International Airport flickered overhead as Derek stared at the departure board in disbelief. His connecting flight to Chicago had been cancelled due to mechanical issues, but a direct flight was leaving in 20 minutes. He'd be home 6 hours earlier than planned. He texted his wife, Vanessa, but got no response. Probably asleep, he figured. It was only 9 p.m., but she'd mentioned feeling tired lately. Derek grabbed his carry-on and headed for the gate, a smile playing at his lips. Maybe he'd surprise her with takeout from that Thai place she loved. The Uber pulled up to their suburban home just after 10:30 p.m. The porch light was off, which was odd. Vanessa always left it on when he traveled. Derek paid the driver and walked up the driveway, noting his wife's car parked in its usual spot. Next to it sat a familiar black SUV that made his stomach drop. That was Trevor's car. His sister-in-law Diane's husband. Derek's hand froze on the doorknob. Maybe Trevor was having car trouble? Maybe there was a family emergency? His mind raced through innocent explanations as he quietly turned his key in the lock. The house was dim, lit only by the soft glow from the hallway leading to the master bedroom. Derek set down his bag carefully, his business instincts kicking in, the same instincts that had made him a successful consultant. Something felt wrong. Then he heard it. Laughter. Vanessa's distinctive giggle, breathy and intimate, followed by a deeper male chuckle he recognized as Trevor's. From the bathroom. Derek's heart hammered against his ribcage. His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone, switching it to silent mode and opening the camera app. Every investigative documentary he'd ever watched flashed through his mind. Document everything. Get proof. He crept down the hallway, his dress shoes silent on the carpeted floor. The bathroom door was cracked open, warm steam curling out into the cooler air of the bedroom. The scent of Vanessa's lavender bath salts filled his nostrils, a smell that had once meant relaxation and intimacy. Now it made him nauseous. "We shouldn't be doing this here," Trevor's voice floated out, thick with something between guilt and desire. "What if Derek comes home early?" Vanessa laughed again, that same laugh she'd given Derek on their wedding day. "Relax, baby. His flight doesn't land until 4 in the morning. We have hours." Derek's vision blurred. Baby. She called him baby. He positioned his phone at the crack in the door, angling the camera to capture the scene. Through the screen, he could see them clearly. Vanessa and Trevor in the oversized bathtub he'd saved 6 months to buy her for their 5th anniversary. Her head rested on Trevor's shoulder, his arm wrapped around her waist, both of them naked and entirely too comfortable with each other. "I love these nights," Vanessa murmured, tracing patterns on Trevor's chest. "When Diane thinks you're working late and Derek's traveling. It's like we have our own little world. These nights." The plural sent Derek's mind reeling. How long had this been going on? Trevor kissed the top of her head. "We need to be more careful though. Diane's been asking questions about my late nights. And your sister isn't stupid, Van. Diane's too busy with those kids to notice anything," Vanessa said dismissively. "And Derek? He's so wrapped up in his work, he barely sees what's right in front of him." Derek forced himself to keep recording even as tears blurred his vision. The camera captured everything, their intimacy, their casual cruelty, the way they laughed about deceiving their spouses. 3 minutes of footage. 4. 5. "I should probably head out soon," Trevor said eventually, though he made no move to leave. "Got to keep up appearances." "Just a few more minutes," Vanessa whispered. Derek backed away slowly, his entire body shaking. He made it to the living room before his legs gave out. Sitting in the dark on the couch where he and Vanessa had planned their future, where they'd talked about having children someday, he stared at the paused video on his phone. The woman on that screen was a stranger. His phone buzzed. A text from his brother, Leo. "Flight land okay? Call me when you get a chance." Derek looked at the time. 10:47 p.m. He had hours before Vanessa expected him home. Hours to think. Hours to plan. He uploaded the video to 3 separate cloud storage accounts, then emailed copies to himself. He wasn't thinking clearly, but he knew enough to preserve evidence. Another burst of laughter from the bathroom made his decision for him. Derek stood, grabbed his bag, and walked out the front door. He climbed into his car, parked around the corner where he'd left it that morning, and drove. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he couldn't stay there. Derek sat in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner, his coffee growing cold as he watched the video for the 7th time. Each viewing revealed new details that twisted the knife deeper. The way Vanessa touched Trevor's face. The comfort level that only came from repetition. The jokes about their spouse's obliviousness. His phone showed 11:43 p.m. Trevor's SUV was probably gone by now. He opened his laptop and started a new folder, Evidence. The video went in first. Then he logged into their cell phone account, something Vanessa had insisted he manage because she hated dealing with technology. The irony wasn't lost on him. The call logs painted a damning picture. Dozens of calls between Vanessa and Trevor over the past 8 months. Calls that lasted 30, 40, sometimes 60 minutes. Always when Derek was traveling. Always when Diane would be busy with their 3 young children. Text messages were harder to access, but Derek had helped Vanessa set up her tablet to sync with her phone. He logged into the cloud backup and found what he was looking for. The messages made his stomach turn. Months of flirtation that had escalated into explicit planning. Hotel visits when Derek was out of town. Afternoons at Trevor's downtown office when Diane thought he was in meetings. They'd been careful, but not careful enough. A particular exchange from 3 weeks ago caught his eye. Vanessa, feeling guilty about Diane. She asked me to babysit tomorrow so she could get her hair done. Trevor, don't. She's happy with her perfect little life. What she doesn't know won't hurt her. Vanessa, you're right. Besides, Derek will be in Boston all week, winking face. Trevor, my place or the usual hotel. Vanessa, hotel. Your office building has too many cameras. Derek's hands clenched into fists. They'd thought of everything. Security cameras. Alibis. They'd used his work travel schedule like a playbook. He scrolled further back, finding the beginning. A birthday party for Diane's oldest daughter, 8 months ago. Innocent compliments had turned into private messages. You look amazing today, became I can't stop thinking about you within weeks. By 2 a.m., Derek had compiled everything. Videos, screenshots, call logs, location data from their shared family app that showed Vanessa's phone pinging at hotel addresses when she'd claimed to be shopping or meeting friends. The evidence was irrefutable. His brother Leo called again. This time, Derek answered. You okay, man? You never called back. Derek's voice came out hollow. Leo, I need a lawyer. A divorce lawyer. The best one you know. Silence. Then, Derek, what happened? Can you meet me? Bring Natalie if she's awake. Natalie was Leo's wife, a paralegal with a sharp mind and sharper instincts. We'll be at the diner on Maple Street in 20 minutes. Leo and Natalie arrived to find Derek surrounded by printouts, his laptop displaying a frozen frame of Vanessa and Trevor in the bathtub. They slid into the booth, and Derek told them everything. Natalie's expression shifted from shock to fury to cold calculation. We need to move fast. Before she knows you know. Do you have somewhere to stay? I'll get a hotel. No, Leo said firmly. Stay with us. We have the guest room. You need people around you right now. And we need to talk strategy, Natalie added, pulling out her own laptop. My firm has a partner who specializes in divorce cases. He's ruthless but fair. I'll call him first thing tomorrow. Derek nodded, numb. What about Diane? Trevor's wife? She deserves to know. Natalie and Leo exchanged glances. She does, Natalie agreed slowly. But timing matters. If you tell her now, she might confront Trevor, and he'll alert Vanessa. Then they'll coordinate stories, delete evidence, maybe even accuse you of something to muddy the waters. So what do I do? You play it cool, Leo said. Go home tomorrow morning like nothing happened. Act normal. Meanwhile, we gather every piece of evidence we can find. And Diane? Derek pressed. Natalie's eyes hardened. We tell Diane. But we do it strategically, with proof in hand. We make sure both of them, Vanessa and Trevor, go down together. Derek spent the rest of the night at Leo's house, lying awake in the guest room. At 6 a.m., he texted Vanessa, "Flight delayed again. Won't be home until noon. Miss you." Her response came within minutes. "Miss you too, honey. Can't wait to see you. Red heart." The casual deception made his blood boil. But he typed back, "Love you." He needed her to believe everything was normal. Just a little longer. At 11 a.m., Derek pulled into his driveway. Vanessa's car was there, Trevor's SUV long gone. He sat for a moment, preparing himself, then walked inside. Vanessa emerged from the kitchen, freshly showered, wearing the silk robe he'd bought her for Christmas. She smiled and wrapped her arms around him. "Welcome home, baby." Derek hugged her back, inhaling the lavender scent from her bath the night before. The bath she'd shared with another man. "It's good to be home," he said, his voice steady. And he meant it. Because now the real work began. Derek fell into a rhythm over the next 2 weeks, a performance worthy of an Academy Award. He kissed Vanessa goodbye each morning, told her he loved her, even made dinner reservations for their upcoming anniversary. All while systematically dismantling the life they'd built together. Natalie's partner, a silver-haired attorney named Richard Holbrook, proved to be exactly what Derek needed. Cold, efficient, and completely unsympathetic to cheaters. "I've seen cases like this before," Richard said during their second meeting, reviewing the evidence on his tablet. "The bathtub video alone is damning, but this text message history? This is a prosecuting attorney's dream. In this state, infidelity impacts asset division and alimony considerations." "I don't care about the money," Derek said. Richard's eyebrow arched. "You should. You earned it. She spent it. Look at these credit card statements. 5-star hotels. Lingerie purchases the week you were in Seattle. Romantic dinners billed as girls' nights. Your wife has been financing her affair with your income." Derek studied the highlighted expenses. $847 at a boutique hotel. $423 at an upscale Italian restaurant he'd never been to. $267 at an intimate lingerie shop, yet he'd never seen any of those items. "I want her to have nothing," Derek said quietly. "Then we do this right. No confrontations. No dramatic reveals until we're ready. How's your acting holding up at home?" "She has no idea." "Good. Keep it that way." The real challenge was Diane. Derek saw her regularly at family gatherings, watched her play with her children, saw the trust in her eyes when she looked at Trevor. She deserved to know, but Natalie's advice echoed in his mind. Timing was everything. The breakthrough came on a Wednesday evening. Derek had installed monitoring software on his home computer, the same computer Vanessa used for her photography business. The software captured everything: keystrokes, screenshots, browsing history. Vanessa had been sloppy. She'd been researching divorce attorneys herself. Derek's blood ran cold as he read her search history. How to divorce a spouse in Colorado. Can I get alimony if I file first? Best divorce lawyers Denver. How to hide assets before divorce. Is Colorado a no-fault divorce state? The timestamps showed she'd done this research 2 months ago. More digging revealed the full picture. Vanessa and Trevor had been planning their exit strategy. They wanted to leave their respective spouses, but they were waiting for what Derek's monitoring software soon revealed. An email from Trevor to Vanessa, sent from a dummy account she thought was secure. My promotion comes through next month. Once that's locked in, we can make our move. Diane will get child support, but with my new salary, we'll be more than comfortable. Your divorce from Derek should be straightforward. No kids, no contested assets if you file on grounds of incompatibility. We just need to be patient a little longer, baby. Vanessa's response: I can wait. Derek's been so clueless, it's almost sad. I almost feel bad. Almost. Face with tears of joy. Derek forwarded everything to Richard, Leo, and his own encrypted email. Then he made a decision. It was time to bring Diane into this. He couldn't tell her directly, too risky. But he could create a situation where she'd discover the truth herself, with him there to provide support and evidence. Derek's opportunity came at his niece's birthday party. Diane and Trevor's middle daughter was turning 6. The whole family would be there, Vanessa's parents, her younger brother, Diane's best friends. The perfect audience. But Derek had a better idea. 3 days before the party, Derek called Diane. "Hey, I know this is random, but I found something weird on Vanessa's tablet. Some messages that don't make sense. They might be nothing, but could we meet for coffee? Just you and me? I don't want to worry Vanessa if it's nothing." Diane's voice carried concern. "Of course. Is everything okay?" "Probably. I just want a second opinion before I bring it up with Van." They met at a quiet cafe the next morning. Diane arrived in yoga pants and a sweatshirt, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun, looking every bit the exhausted mother of 3. Derek slid his tablet across the table. "I wasn't snooping intentionally. Vanessa asked me to order a photography book from her Amazon account. When I logged in, these messages popped up." Diane looked at the screen. Her face went pale as she read the texts between Vanessa and Trevor. Texts Derek had carefully selected to reveal the affair without being too explicit yet. "This has to be a mistake," Diane whispered. "Trevor's been working late, but he wouldn't, Vanessa wouldn't." "Keep scrolling," Derek said gently. She did. With each message, her expression crumbled. When she reached the video thumbnail, Derek had been careful to include only a censored preview. She made a small sound of pain. "How long have you known?" she asked, her voice breaking. "I came home early from Denver 2 weeks ago. Found them in our bathtub." Diane's hand covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. "The kids. Oh God, the kids." Derek reached across and squeezed her hand. "I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry. But you deserve to know." "Does anyone else know?" "My brother and his wife. My attorney. Now you." "Your attorney?" Diane looked up sharply. "You're divorcing her?" "Yes." Something shifted in Diane's expression. The shock gave way to something harder. "I want to see everything. Every message. Every photo. I want to know exactly what they did." Derek had anticipated this. "Are you sure? Some of it is." "Show me." He did. They sat in that cafe for 2 hours while Diane absorbed the betrayal in its entirety. The messages. The photos Trevor had sent Vanessa. The hotel receipts. The plans to leave their spouses. When she finally looked up, her eyes were red but determined. "The birthday party is in 3 days." "I know." "Don't file for divorce until after," Diane said. "I want them there. I want everyone there. I want witnesses." Derek started to object. This wasn't how Richard had planned it, but something in Diane's expression stopped him. "What are you thinking?" he asked. Diane's smile was cold. "I'm thinking it's time everyone knew what kind of people they really are." The birthday party was set for Saturday afternoon at Diane and Trevor's house, a sprawling colonial in an upscale neighborhood that Trevor's corporate salary afforded. Diane had spent the past 3 days planning with military precision, and Derek had reluctantly agreed to follow her lead, though Richard had warned him this could complicate things legally. "Let her have this," Natalie had argued during an emergency meeting. "She's the mother of 3 children whose father betrayed her. She deserves her moment of truth. Just make sure you're recording everything." Derek arrived with Vanessa at 2 p.m. sharp. His wife looked radiant in a sundress, carrying an elaborately wrapped present for her niece. She kissed his cheek in the car before they went inside. "I love family parties," she said brightly. "Everyone together." Derek managed a smile. "Should be memorable." The backyard was decorated with princess-themed banners and balloons. About 30 people milled around, family, neighbors, parents from the kids' school. Trevor manned the grill, playing the perfect suburban dad in his world's best father apron. He waved when he saw Derek and Vanessa. "Derek, beer." Trevor called out. "Sure," Derek replied, watching Trevor's easy smile. The man had no idea what was coming. Diane moved through the crowd like a ghost, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. She'd asked Derek to give her a signal when everyone had arrived. At 3 p.m., he nodded. Diane stepped onto the deck and tapped a knife against a glass. "Everyone, if I could have your attention for just a moment." The crowd quieted. The children continued playing in the bounce house, oblivious. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate Emma's 6th birthday," Diane began, her voice steady. "Before we cut the cake, I wanted to take a moment to thank some special people. First, my wonderful husband Trevor, who works so hard for our family." Trevor beamed, raising his beer. Several people applauded. "And my dear sister, Vanessa, who's been such an important part of my life. Come up here, both of you." Derek watched Vanessa's face, a flicker of confusion, but she smiled and joined Diane on the deck. Trevor followed, wrapping an arm around Diane's waist. The picture of a perfect family. Diane pulled out her phone. "I wanted to share some photos from our family's journey over the years. Let me just connect to the projector. We used it for Emma's birthday video." A large white screen on the deck flickered to life. Derek held his breath. The first image appeared, Vanessa and Trevor in the bathtub. Not the full video, but a still frame that left no doubt about what was happening. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Vanessa's face drained of color. Trevor froze. "Diane, what?" Vanessa started. "Oh, I'm sorry," Diane said, her voice deadly calm. "Did I cue up the wrong slideshow? This must be from the collection my sister and my husband have been building together. Let me see what else is here." She clicked. Another image, Vanessa and Trevor kissing in a hotel room, a selfie they'd taken themselves. "Diane, stop this." Trevor lunged for the phone, but Derek stepped forward, blocking him. "I wouldn't," Derek said quietly. Vanessa's mother, a stern woman named Patricia, stood up. "What is the meaning of this?" "The meaning, Mom, is that your daughter has been sleeping with my husband for almost 9 months, Diane said. The crack in her voice finally showed. "While I was home with our 3 children. While Derek was traveling for work, trusting his wife. They've been planning to leave us both." The crowd erupted. Vanessa's father stormed toward his daughter. Friends pulled out their phones, some to record, others to call people who'd missed this drama. "This is ridiculous." Vanessa shrieked. "Those photos are fake. Someone's trying to frame us." "Really?" Derek spoke up for the first time, pulling out his own phone. "So this audio from 2 weeks ago is fake too?" He played the recording from the bathroom. Vanessa and Trevor's voices filled the yard, intimate and damning. "What if Derek comes home early? His flight doesn't land until 4 in the morning. We have hours." Vanessa's knees buckled. She sat down hard on the deck steps. Trevor tried a different approach. "Diane, honey, we can talk about this privately." "Don't you dare call me honey," Diane snarled. "I already filed for divorce this morning. Emergency custody hearing is Monday. Your lawyer should have received the papers an hour ago. You can't take my kids. Watch me. I have 8 months of evidence documenting your affair, your lies, and your plan to abandon your family. Every judge in this county will see exactly what kind of father you are." Patricia approached Vanessa, her face twisted with disgust. "Get up. We're leaving." "Mom, please. You've humiliated this family. Don't speak to me." Vanessa turned to Derek, tears streaming. "Derek, baby, please. We can work through this. It was a mistake, a stupid mistake." "Don't." Derek's voice was ice. "I heard you call him baby. I watched you plan your future together. I read every message where you laughed about how clueless I was." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "You're served. Divorce papers. I filed Wednesday." Vanessa's hands shook as she opened the envelope. "You can't. We can fix this." "Read page 3, Richard said, stepping forward. He'd been waiting at the periphery. "The part about asset division. Your affair is well documented. Under Colorado law, That impacts everything. I'll fight this. With what money? Richard smiled coldly. Mr. Morrison froze all joint accounts this morning. You'll need to hire your own attorney. Good luck affording one of my caliber on your photography income. The party disintegrated into chaos. Neighbors ushered their children away. Vanessa's brother grabbed her arm and dragged her toward his car. Trevor tried to approach his children, but Diane stepped between them. "Stay away from them," she said. "Your supervised visitation starts after the hearing." "Diane, they're my kids too. You should have thought of that before you decided to sleep with my sister." Derek watched it all unfold with a strange sense of detachment. This wasn't how he'd planned it. Richard would be furious about the public spectacle. But watching Vanessa and Trevor's carefully constructed lies collapse in front of everyone who'd believed in them, there was a justice to it. As the yard emptied, Diane approached Derek. Her 3 children clung to her, confused and crying. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For telling me the truth. For not letting them get away with it." She looked at her children, fresh tears forming. "It's going to be hell explaining this to them, but at least I'm not living a lie anymore." Derek nodded. He understood that better than anyone. His phone buzzed. "Leo, news travels fast. It's already on 3 neighborhood Facebook groups. How are you holding up?" Derek typed back, "Heading to your place. I need a drink." "We'll have one ready." As Derek drove away from the scene of destruction, he caught a glimpse of Vanessa in his rearview mirror. She stood alone in the driveway, her mother's car pulling away without her, her perfect mask finally shattered. He felt no satisfaction. No triumph. Just a hollow ache where his marriage used to be. But at least it was over. The lies, the performance, the pretending, all of it was finally over. 3 months later, Derek sat in Richard's office reviewing the final divorce settlement. The process had been brutal but mercifully swift. Vanessa's attorney had advised her to accept the terms rather than drag it out. "She gets nothing?" Derek asked, reading through the document. "Not quite nothing," Richard corrected. "She gets her personal belongings, her photography equipment, and her car, which she's still making payments on. But the house, the savings, the investment accounts, all yours. Colorado's not technically a fault-based divorce state, but the prenup you signed had an infidelity clause. Combined with her attempt to hide assets before filing, which we documented, the judge wasn't sympathetic." Derek signed the papers with a steady hand. "And the restraining order?" "Still in effect. She can't contact you directly for any reason. All communication goes through attorneys." Richard leaned back in his chair. "You won, Derek. Completely. How does it feel?" "Empty," Derek admitted. It was true. The victory felt hollow. He'd gotten the house, but it was full of memories he couldn't erase. He'd gotten justice, but it didn't undo the betrayal. Winning the battle didn't heal the wound. Diane's divorce had been even more devastating for Trevor. The custody hearing had gone exactly as she'd predicted. Trevor was granted supervised visitation every other weekend, pending completion of therapy and parenting classes. The judge had been particularly harsh about Trevor's moral character and fitness as a role model. But the real punishment came from Trevor's employer. The affair had violated the company's ethics clause, something about maintaining professional standards. Trevor had been terminated 2 weeks after the birthday party. Word spread quickly in their industry. He'd been forced to take a position at a smaller firm for half his previous salary. Child support payments ate up most of what remained. Derek met Diane for coffee on a grey November morning. She looked different, thinner, with new highlights in her hair and a determined set to her jaw. "How are the kids?" Derek asked. "Adjusting. Emma asks about her dad sometimes, but less than before. The therapist says they're resilient." Diane stirred her latte absently. "It's strange. I thought I'd fall apart without Trevor's income, but we're managing. I went back to work part-time. My parents help with childcare. We're actually okay." And Trevor? Bitter. Angry. He tried to contest the custody arrangement last month, but his lawyer talked him out of it. The evidence is too damning. She looked up at Derek. Have you heard from Vanessa? She tried to reach out through her brother. Wanted to talk things through. I declined. Good. She doesn't deserve your forgiveness. Diane paused. You know the whole family's ostracized her, right? My parents won't speak to her. My brother banned her from family gatherings. She's completely alone. Derek should have felt vindicated. Instead, he felt tired. What about you and me? Are we okay? We're family, Derek. You'll always be Uncle Derek to my kids, even if you're not technically their uncle anymore. Is that okay? More than okay. They parted with a hug, two survivors of the same shipwreck clinging to whatever stability they could find. Derek threw himself into work. His firm promoted him to senior partner. Apparently his focus during the divorce had impressed the higher-ups. He traveled less now, stayed in Denver more. Started seeing a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. Trust isn't something you rebuild overnight, Dr. Holloway told him during one session. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to grieve. You lost more than a marriage. You lost your belief in someone you loved. Will I ever trust anyone again? Derek asked. With time and work. Yes. But it'll look different. You'll be more careful. That's not necessarily bad. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Derek ran into Trevor at a grocery store. The other man looked haggard, wearing a cheap suit instead of his usual designer labels. They made eye contact across the produce section. Trevor approached hesitantly. Derek. I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything, Derek said flatly. And even if you did, an apology wouldn't cover it. I know. I want you to know I regret it. Everything. I lost my kids, my career, my marriage. Was it worth it? No. Not even close. Derek studied Trevor's face, looking for manipulation, but found only exhaustion. Is that supposed to make me feel better? Knowing you regret getting caught? I regret all of it. Hurting Diane. Hurting you. Throwing away everything for, Trevor stopped, shaking his head. Vanessa and I aren't even together anymore. Did you know that? Lasted 3 months before she blamed me for ruining her life. Derek hadn't known. He'd blocked all of Vanessa's social media, avoided any news about her. I don't forgive you, Derek said finally. And I don't care about your regrets. But I hope you figure out how to be a decent father to those kids. They didn't ask for any of this. I'm trying. The supervised visits are going better. Emma smiled at me last week. Derek nodded once and walked away. He felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, just a distant sense of closure. A year after that fateful night in the bathtub, Derek went on his first date since the divorce. Her name was Rachel, a fellow consultant he'd met at a conference. She knew about his divorce, not the details, just that it had been difficult. I won't lie, Rachel said over dinner. The idea of dating someone who's been through a rough divorce is intimidating. You must have a lot of walls up. I do, Derek admitted. But I'm working on it. My therapist says I'm guardedly optimistic about future relationships. Rachel laughed. That's the most consultant answer I've ever heard. They talked for hours. Derek found himself relaxing, enjoying the conversation without constantly analyzing it for signs of deception. When Rachel mentioned she had to leave early the next morning, Derek felt disappointment but not panic. Can I see you again? He asked. I'd like that. Walking to his car that night, Derek felt something he hadn't experienced in months: hope. Not the naive trust he'd had before, but something more resilient. He'd been broken and survived. He'd been betrayed and rebuilt himself. The house no longer felt like a mausoleum of his failed marriage. He'd repainted the bedroom, replaced the furniture, donated Vanessa's things to charity. The bathroom had been completely renovated. He couldn't stand looking at that bathtub. He still had hard days. Moments when a song or a smell would trigger memories. Nights when he lay awake wondering what he'd missed, how he'd been so blind. But those moments came less frequently now. Diane texted him a photo one evening, her 3 kids at a soccer game, smiling and covered in mud. "They're doing great. Hope you are too." Derek replied, "Getting there. One day at a time." And that was the truth. He was getting there. The betrayal would always be part of his story, but it didn't define him anymore. He'd learned hard lessons about trust, about the importance of protecting himself, about the difference between love and performance. He'd also learned about resilience, about the strength it took to walk away, about the dignity in choosing himself when someone else had chosen to discard him. 2 years after finding Vanessa in the bathtub with Trevor, Derek sat in the audience at Emma's dance recital. Diane had invited him, and he'd surprised himself by saying yes. Trevor was there too, sitting on the opposite side of the auditorium, looking more put together than the last time Derek had seen him. When Emma took the stage, both men cheered. In that moment, Derek realized something. His life had moved beyond revenge, beyond justice, beyond the need to see his betrayers suffer. He'd built something new. Not perfect, still under construction, but his own. After the recital, Derek stopped to congratulate Emma. "You were amazing up there." "Thanks, Uncle Derek." She hugged him tightly. "Are you coming to my birthday party next month?" Derek glanced at Diane, who nodded encouragingly. "Wouldn't miss it." As he drove home that night, Derek thought about the man he'd been 2 years ago, the one who discovered his wife's betrayal and felt his world collapse. That man had been devastated, lost, desperate for answers that would never satisfy. But he'd also been strong enough to face the truth, to gather evidence, to protect himself, to walk away with his dignity intact. The Derek of today was different. Scarred but wiser. Cautious but not closed off. Betrayed but not broken. He pulled into his driveway and looked at the house, no longer theirs, but his. Inside were photos from his recent vacation, books he'd been meaning to read, plans for a home office renovation. Inside was a life he'd built from the rubble. And while he'd never forget what happened in that bathtub, what Vanessa and Trevor had stolen from him, he'd also never forget what he'd proven to himself in the aftermath. He was stronger than his worst day, braver than his deepest fear, and worthy of a love that didn't require him to be blind. Derek unlocked his door and stepped inside. Tomorrow he had another date with Rachel. Next week, a work conference in Seattle. Next month, Emma's birthday party and 1,000 small moments of a life reclaimed. The betrayal was part of his past. But the future, that was entirely his own.